A little late. There was a Star Wars parade that blocked me off. That's my excuse and I'll stick with it.
There's a traffic jam caused by New York, essentially, wasn't it?
The guy in Darth Vader went to my school. Funny enough.
That's quite cool as well, isn't it?
What a way to start.
Yeah.
But you're pleased you came.
He ended up in a Darth Vader costume, you ended up on an internationally syndicated television show. Who got the better deal? Look at that then, sir.
It's a very good Darth Vader costume.
It was a very good Darth Vader, yes. But welcome back to Birmingham. Thank you very much for taking time to join us. It's been a bit of a whirlwind time for you, with Sleepy Hollow being renewed for the third season, and then the second half of the season, beginning of season 2, that is, beginning here this Thursday on the Universal channel in the UK. What has it been like for you to see the response from the UK fans this weekend for Sleepy Hollow?
It's nice. This is my first convention at home. I did a couple of the San Diego ones and New York Comic Con. And it's really nice to, when I'm over there filming in North Carolina, in this weird little bubble, the only thing I hear about news from home is friends telling me that my stupid face is on the side of a bus and they hate it. Apart from that, I have no idea what the reaction is from home. So it's really nice to come and have all of you be very friendly and supportive, so thanks very much.
And unfortunately then bring you back and put you under another giant bubble.
Exactly.
But with Sleepy Hollow, when did you first get an indication that it had become this really massive success globally that it had?
I'm not entirely sure. As I said, we've been in a very small town in North Carolina, which is about 2 hours right south of New York, and there's really no way of knowing what's happening in the entire world outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. So it never really struck that we were doing a show that had such a big fan base until we come to Comic-Cons and people seem to like it.
And so we're going to throw I know there's going to be plenty of people that like to ask questions, so I'm going to throw the questions out to the audience. If you'd like to ask Tom a question, please feel free to stick your hand up. Straight away, and Spider-Man would like to ask a question. And it's not if he can join season 3, we've already discussed that. Me and him, are you ready?
What was your most challenging scene when you was filming the series?
Most challenging scene? Well, running around woods at 4 in the morning with a wig and a wool coat, and it's 90-degree heat and 90-something% humidity never got easier. They never got nice either. They were awful. I think those are probably the hardest scenes, as well as the scenes that are, they give you the day before 7 pages and it's just lots of talk about, lots of remembering dates. I'm not very good at remembering dates, but I have to learn lots of dates. And, it's the end of the day and the crew are kind of looking at their watch and they're thinking that they've got dinner at home. And I'm there trying to remember, is it 1740 something? And which founding father am I talking about now? And the pressure is on when there's a hungry crew. So just learn the dates.
Question from Snake.
Hi. It's actually a question about how you go about learning the scripts when you're in production. I imagine it's quite a quick succession. So how much time do you get from receiving an episode and then having to put it
Well, there have been times where we've been shooting 2 or 3 episodes at the same time. And so there isn't really an awful lot of time to learn lots and lots of lines. It's something, it's like a muscle that you just exercise a lot. And so the more that you do it, the easier it is. The first few episodes of 2 episodes maybe of the season, I was terrible at it. But then the further you go on, it gets to a point where you look at it once and it's in. It's like an accountant. You ask accountants a simple sum and they can do it easily, but I couldn't at all. And because they're exercising that part of their brain. And so we exercise the learning part and it becomes fairly easy.
And you're in pretty much every scene of the season. And then you've got to do things like choreography with other people, and how do you balance all of that to kind of be able to, is it that muscle that helps you to do that, or is it just sheer energy that keeps you through?
It's just panic. Panic forces me to do it. And yeah, like you said, there's lots of fight scenes to learn. So like the fight scenes with Neil. Did Neil come in the chat?
Yes, he did.
Neil. And who plays the headless horseman with a head. And you know, he's got lots and lots of time to learn the fights, and then I turn up with 20 minutes to learn a fight and just watch him go, "You're so good at this already," and I'm turning up trying to remember what I'm meant to do, and I haven't stabbed him in the face yet. So that's a good sign.
It is a good sign, yeah. With the show, there's kind of a lot of dialogue around supernatural. It's almost like sci-fi actors have problems with techie speak. You've got a lot of like Latin, a lot of Italian mixed in. How do you kind of get to grips with having to pronounce all of that?
The writers seem to have had a bet amongst themselves over which language or dialect will be the first to destroy me, to make me cry, probably. So yeah, there's been German, Romany, Greek, Latin. The hardest one was it was a Native American dialect, and that bears no relation to any language that I've ever heard before. And so they gave that to me 2 weeks before we were shooting the scene, and I was having Skype calls with a Native American professor who was living in Canada. And after 2 weeks, I still couldn't get any of it right. And it's we have had it over here, the Wendigo episode.
Yeah.
And there's the moment where I have to speak Native American, and I'm holding the crown of a skull and dipping blood from a magic knife into it. Obviously, this is what I do with my life. And I'd written all of the language onto a bit of duct tape and stuck it to the back of the crown and hoped that no one would notice on the back of the skull. So I'm there trying to look very intense, and, like Hamlet. And actually, the only intensity is me trying to read my very bad writing of this Native American dialect.
That's brilliant. And other than the situation you just mentioned like that, where you're looking at the Wendigo skull and dipping it in blood and things, is there any other moments where you're standing there thinking, what am I doing?
Every day of my life. But actually, it's on any job, even the most ordinary job. You sometimes think, well, I'm being paid to put on someone else's clothes and shout at another man. And I'm very lucky for it. With Sleepy Hollow, there would often be moments where Nicole and I would have to be rolling around. Nicole plays Abby Mills. We'd be rolling around on the floor of the forest, covered in shit, and we'd just been chased by whatever awful monster. And I'd just lie there and turn to her and say, so how was your experience with your classical training at Juilliard School in New York? And she doesn't look impressed when I say that.
And if you'd like to vote, there's a question over here from this lady.
Hi. Of all the monsters and demons you faced, which ones actually scared you most?
Very early on, there was the Sandman. It was pretty freaky. That was excuse me. He was actually the first one that we saw in full get-up. And we've got a guy, Corey Castellano, who does all of the creature makeup. So he turned up looking exactly like that. And there's this amazing actor, Marty Margulis, who is inside the Sandman, and he's also inside Wendigo, one of the Reavers, the big scarecrow root monster. He's done lots of them. And he just loves it. He gets into it and he starts trying to freak you out. And it's awful. It's frightening. There's an episode coming up soon, I don't think it's been over here, with creatures called Reavers. And there's just loads of them, and they've got like fish hooks holding their eyes open and maimed mouths, and they just run at you and scream. And that's also awful. I'm having a terrible time.
And getting paid for it.
Hello there. What's it been like working with John Noble? Is he as intense as he is on the screen or off?
There's nothing intense about John. He's just the most delightful man and such a brilliant, classy actor. From the moment he arrived, his first episode was The Sin Eater. And the very first scene we had together was us sitting opposite each other and him stabbing me in the hand and eating the badness out of my blood, I think, or something like that. And that was a nice introduction. But from the very instant I met him, I knew that he was just gorgeous. He's such a great man.
I have a question off to the side here.
What's your most favourite scene out of the series?
My favourite scene? I quite liked the bank scene. It was a really good scene in the bank. And that was an opportunity for Ichabod to not only be confused by pens on chains, but also just to have a go at a banker. I think there's intense joy to be found in shouting at a banker. And I could unload my frustration through Ichabod.
And is there any other situations, because Ichabod has a very neat view on the world, having come from where he acts, but is there any situations you yourself would like to find in going forward that you think would be very amusing or, again, very fun to do?
I mentioned yesterday that a scene that I particularly like is to see Ichabod visit a shrink. I'd like to see him go to a psychiatrist and send the psychiatrist insane. That'd be fun.
And for you, when you're filming, is there any kind of thing when you have a break, is there anything you like to do to kind of unwind and take your mind off things? Because it seems like it can be a pretty intense time for you because you're shooting several episodes on the go potentially, or you've got scripts going on, flying around at you. What do you kind of do to just chill out?
Well, there's not an awful lot of chill out time. We'd be doing 16-hour days because we'd have to get in and I'd have to get into that wing before everyone else arrived. So they're long days and 16 hours, 6-day weeks. And so time off, the way I relax is to pass out. I have a large gin and tonic and collapse.
Sounds completely fair to me.
Actually, in the last season, because I find it very difficult to read a book if I know that I don't have very much time and get interrupted. I like to sit and just read one for hours. Which is why this past year I've rekindled my love of comics, because it's something that, I've got 20 minutes off, I can go and read a fair bit. So I gorged on, by the same writer, Brian K. Vaughan. He wrote Why the Last Man, which is something that I recommend even if you have no interest in comics. It's a brilliant, brilliant one. And another one called Saga, which are both excellent. And I've given them to people who profess to hate in comics, and they've rather fallen in love with it. So that's my tip for the day. It was worth coming along for that. Cheers, everyone.
If you could play, if you had the chance to bring Why the Last Man onto the small screen or the big silver screen, which character would you like to play?
Probably Why the Last Man.
Okay, that's then the other one then.
Well, the premise is that he's the last man on Earth. I could wear a dress if you like. the beard would be a giveaway.
But as well, is there any other superhero though, other than that, or any other comic that you think I could really do? I'd love to do it.
Someone asked me not that long ago about Marvel in particular, and I'd really like to be the Black Knight, which is one that not many people are aware of, but there's a nod from Hulk. That's a very cool one.
That'd be cool.
Lots of people are going to have to Google these. I'm so sorry.
We've got time for a couple more questions, so if you don't ask all this, straight away, look at this. Take this lady here.
Hi, yeah. You spend so much time in costume. Do you ever look at yourself in the mirror in modern clothes and think that just looks weird?
No, I'm quite proud of the costume. Despite it being uncomfortable, I think it really... A lot of actors find it really helpful. As soon as you put the costume on, the character kind of arrives, for lack of a less pretentious term. I remember hearing that Ian McKellen, when he was working on Gandalf, it was as soon as he put on the nose and the costume was right, he said it suddenly, he got it. And when we were shooting for 8 months, Sleepy Hollow, and obviously within those 8 months there are going to be days where you're not quite as sharp as you are on other days. So putting the boots and the wig and the coat on, it's a really good way of reminding myself of the character and finding it. It's very helpful.
A question for Lily?
What do you enjoy most about filming Sleepy Hollow?
I think there are lots of moments where Ichabod is confused by the present day, and that's always a treat, doing those parts, where someone gives you something completely mundane, like a mobile phone or, like I said, a pen on a chain, and just having a job where you're allowed to have a childish sense of wonder about everything is such a treat, because you don't often get to do that, and the most mundane thing can become fascinating. And that's always fun. I think for the writers as well as for me. And just having the amazing cast, it's nice coming into work in the morning, knowing that I get to play with Lindy Greenwood and John Noble and Nicole. It's magic.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a massive round of applause and a huge thank you to Tom Mison. Thank you very much.